How you doing, everybody? Everybody doing great? This is a movie that made me afraid to ever go on a cruise ever because there might be just some evil scientist who does some shady things. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about Chupacabra, Dark Seas. Or Chupacabra Tear. It goes by two different names. I don't know why. But this movie has John Rhys-Davies. It has Giancarlo Esposito in it. So it has actually a pretty decent cast. But before we get into that, let's talk today about our sponsor, Dubby. Dubby Energy gives you all the energy you need to go work out, continue on with your day, and all with a jitterless free formula. So go on over to their website, use the code Oddcast, as you can see on screen here. Save yourself a little bit of extra money. And they're constantly running deals to give you a couple different flavors and a shaker, tumbler. So go check it out and show us some love. But back into our movie. So this movie opens up, we're shown, honestly, they don't really tell you where. I just assume somewhere off the coast of Mexico, one of the islands, somewhere in there, because they say it's an island, and the Chupacabra is always associated with Mexico, but they literally don't really fucking tell you where the fuck they are. They really don't give any idea where the hell they are. You're just kind of left to your imagination of where they might fucking be. But because it's Chupacabra, again, I assume somewhere in Mexico, South America, somewhere. But anyway, we open up with Dr. Pena, and he's taking a group of people, and they're off on a hunt. He's looking for the Chupacabra. While they're going, one of the dudes breaks his leg, and we get the first look at how sadistically evil this man is, because he immediately is just like, grab all his gear. Let's move. It just fucking abandons the dude. No fucks given. Like, no, man, I'm hunting a Chupacabra. We're doing a thing. Fuck that guy. If he can't make it, he's on his own. But then we cut to night, and they've set up a trap with a goat. Obviously, how else are you going to attract the goat sucker? Duh. But anyways, so they all start getting eaten and taken off one by one. And we see that the trap gets set, the net gets thrown down on the Chupacabra after it's killed a couple guys. And Dr. Pena just kind of watches it eat the last dude before he shoots it with a dart. And then we cut over to a cruise ship where we get to meet John Rhys-Davies' character, Captain Randolph. I had to re-record this because I called him Rudolph, and then I couldn't stop laughing at thinking about, like, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Yeah, sorry, I'm special, all right? My brain sometimes does the dumbest fucking shit, and that was something that I had to re-record over because that was where my brain went. But anyway, so Captain Randolph and his daughter Jenny, played by Chelin Simmons, or Chelin Simmons. I don't really know how to pronounce her first name, but she's in a lot of sci-fi original movies. Like, she's all over the place here. But anyway, we learned that there's also a marshal being brought on board, a Lance Columbus, because there was a bunch of thievery that's gone on, so he's going to hide undercover to try to find the thief, because he knocked out the cameras, stole a bunch of shit. And they think he's probably still on board, because if he got on the island, where the fuck would he go? But anyway, then we cut over to Dr. Pena, and Dr. Pena is paying two people to bring on the Chupacabra without telling anyone what they're doing. So they quickly rush it down to cargo for him to get their pay, because, you know, evil scientist gotta be evil. He gets way more evil as the movie goes on, but anyway. You know, everybody kind of just is doing their own thing, and then we cut down to the cargo bay, and the two guys who bring it in decide, fuck it, man, what's inside this thing? Because, you know, why not? With thing that says dangerous, do not open. Why not open it and check it out? Yeah, he's a real hungry boy. Fucking Chupacabra got shipped all the way through the fucking island, all for this fucking thing, so he's real hungry. So those two do not last, unfortunately for them. But then we cut back upstairs. There's a big-ass banquet going on, and everybody's enjoying themselves. We meet back up with Lance and Jenny. And then we meet the rich heiress, Mrs. Harmon, and her little dog. And she's also sitting next to a gentleman who will figure out who he is later in the movie, so don't worry about that. But the doctor sits down, introduces himself, starts talking about like, oh yeah, I'm a cryptozoologist and I study the Chupacabra specifically. And they get into a whole conversation there. But then we cut back down to the cargo bay because Captain Reese comes over and sits down and they tell him like, yeah, we haven't been able to get a hold of our 2 crewmen. So he sends 2 more people down and they find that they're dead. Yeah, now it's just free on the ship because those 2 get dead and obviously the door's open. So now the Chupacabra has some free reign among the ship to do whatever the hell it wants. That takes us into our movie. But back at the dinner party, they're still discussing about he's a Chupacabra, blah, blah, blah. Like, I've been on the island and studying things, whatever. But the captain gets told, like, hey, there's a mess down in the cargo hold. So him and Lance go off and take down and look. They find that everyone's dead. And they're like, hey, there's some kind of animal. So they start handing out guns. Everyone starts getting armed up. Meanwhile, we see that the doctor and Jenny are kind of flirting off overlooking the sea, and he's all like, I have some expensive equipment. I'd like to make sure it's okay in the cargo hold. You're so beautiful in the moonlight. And I don't know, she's just like, the doctor's flirting with me, and she takes him down there. And then they get, told like, hey, you got to go back to your room. And the doctor tries questioning the Marshal Lance about like, hey, what's actually going on? If I'm in danger, blah, blah, blah. But he blows him off. And then he, obviously doubles back to go check out, finds that his cargo is missing. But then we cut over and the crewmen are sweeping the bowels of the ship. A couple of them get eaten in the laundry room. They radio to the captain right before they die. And they chase the Chupacabra around. Captain gets that part of the ship cut off that they chase it into. But of course, evil doctor sees that happening and stops another door from closing. So it's not actually sealed off, so Chupacabra can still Chupacabra for the movie. They find that all this they find that the door's been blocked off, and they're like, what the fuck? And above deck, we see that everyone's just kind of enjoying their thing, right? Like, there's a big show going on, everyone's doing the cruise ship thing. But then a couple gets eaten by the Chupacabra as they go back to the room all horny and ready to get it on. But unfortunately, the Chupacabra was also ready to get it on. Then we cut over to Lance and the captain, and they're checking out the layout of the ship, figuring out, like, where could it be? And they hear that there was a mess on B deck, and they're like, oh no, that's the passenger quarters. And we had seen right before this that Dr. Pena is getting drunk as fuck, because he realizes this is going to be really hard to capture that thing again. But he decides in his drunken bravery, like, I need to tell the captain. So then we get this whole thing of he goes and explains to the captain what's exactly going on.
I can be of some help.
Thank you, Dr. Pena. Everything is under control. Just return to your cabin, please.
Under control? Don't make me laugh. You can't control what did this.
You know what did this?
You have seen it, but you do not know what it is, do you?
And you do. Yes. And now you have set it free.
I have been studying this creature for many years.
The Chupacabra.
Oh yeah, they 100% call his ass out here about, like, you fucking brought this thing on my ship, you son of a bitch. Like, everyone's real fucking pissed at him. But he convinces them that he can, fucking capture the thing again and whatnot. The captain, meanwhile, radios down to the Navy patrol, and he starts making a thing of there's a terrorist on board, which, because, like, if he tells them what's actually going on, nobody's gonna fucking believe him. Like, I have a Chupacabra on my ship. No one's gonna fucking come. No one's gonna believe you. Like, he even tells his daughter, like, no one will fucking believe me. I gotta tell them there's something here that they'll actually want to help with. And we see that there's 2 drunken crew members who are going off to be, like, men and drink this expensive champagne and try to flirt with the captain's daughter. And they get killed. But they set off a fire alarm, so they have an idea where the thing is now. During all this, Lance is heating up a piece of meat to help the doctor set up his trap to try to catch the goddamn thing, and he's like, it only likes warm blood, so they heat up some raw piece of meat, and they're going to try to lure it in that way. Meanwhile, the captain's, welcoming on the commandos, like, hey guys, why don't you come with me and I'll show you what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And they get their security system back up, and he shows them an image, and they're like, what the fuck is that? And he's like, that gentleman is your terrorist. It's a Chupacabra terrorist. Ha! Yeah. Anyway, so then the doctor meets back up with the captain, and he's all like, "You need to let me capture it. I need to be able to capture it alive for my scientific research."
Captain, I have prepared everything. I don't think you understand. This is an extremely delicate specimen.
Captain, I have to ask you to leave this area.
Not a chance. This is my ship.
The kitchen. You must lure her to the kitchen. The trap is set in the kitchen.
Who the hell are you?
This is Pena. He's the bastard that brought this creature aboard.
It's Dr. Pena. And I'm telling you, your bullets will be useless against...
Let us handle it, sir.
Peters, on your flank. It's coming right at.
But yeah, of course, then all the commandos start dying, but they do chase it down to the garbage room, and the fucking Chupacabra just goes through the garbage chute, because fuck you guys. And while it goes up the garbage chute, everyone starts arguing about, like, what's going on, like, how are we gonna stop this thing, blah, blah. But Mrs. Harmon was all pissed off, because her dog needed to go for a walk. And she gets a little more than she bargained for here.
Free? Jeffrey!
I love the way it looked at her, just like, little small tiny dog or big person, bigger meal, and it just fucking goes for it. Also, once again, I love they used a dude in a suit, and it's not just a CGI Chupacabra. Like, it's actually a pretty cool looking suit. At least I think so. I enjoy shit like this, as I've said many a time. I enjoy it much better than the PS1 fucking dragon from the last movie. Fuck that thing. So fucking terrible. But anyway, the captain ends up giving the evacuate order, and he starts sending people up to the lifeboats. Jenny wants to help, so he tells her to help get people, make sure they're getting in the boats and get them off the ship. But things don't quite work out, because we see the doctor trying to make up a tranquilizer, and he ends up hearing Jenny and Lance coming by, so he fucking clear and shocks fucking Lance, knocking him out, and tranks the fucking daughter, and takes Jenny with him, because he's gonna use her for his trap. And he ties her up, and he's like, "Your sacrifice will be remembered for my scientific achievements." And but it doesn't really work out the way he wants it to. That's right, because the captain and Lance figure out what he's trying to do and break it down, and he gets eaten because, but even in his dying breaths, he doesn't fucking help them with anything. He's just like, "No, it must live even if I die." And that's how he ends. He doesn't fucking help anybody with how to stop this fucking thing. Luckily, Jenny's not a complete idiot, and she's like, his notes probably have a good idea where the hell, how to stop this thing, blah, blah, blah. So, obviously they go looking for it, and we see our dude who was hitting on Mrs. Harmon earlier was actually the thief, because of course, and he ends up breaking out of his room, and he goes off to find his little stash of goods. And the soldiers are tracking down the Chupacabra, and they get attacked by it. Thief gets away. But he runs into Lance, Captain, and Jenny, and they end up making him go with them to the room, and they find the notes, and they're like, oh, there's a special formula that he made that helps knock it out, and the only soft spot it has is on its neck, so we're just going to have to get close and shoot it with the dart gun here, and we can take this thing down. Which, doesn't really work. The thief ends up getting fucking picked off because he tries to slip away, gets caught by commandos, and then everyone gets eaten. We cut over to then we find that everyone ends up in the engine room, and the leader of the commandos is trying to fight off the thing that just killed all of his men. And it doesn't really work out because he hits a fuel line, and then he's just fucking blind firing, like he's not even paying attention to what he's shooting at, which is a horrible idea in a fucking engine room, but whatever. And he's also throwing random fucking grenades like he's playing Call of Duty, but that ends up backfiring because one of them sets off the gasoline and lights him on fire, and he dies. But it's okay because our heroes finally put down the Chupacabra, and they shock it just to be safe. Yeah, Lance ends up giving him a little shock just to make sure it stays down. They escape, get on a lifeboat, and they get off just as the ship starts exploding and sinks. And that's the end of that movie. The Chupacabra goes down with the ship, and everyone's safe. At least the captain, Lance, and his daughter are all safe. You know, Jenny, like, they're safe. Everyone else is fucking dead. But that's Chupacabra Tear, or Chupacabra Dark Seas, depending on, you know, what version of this you find. Because when I looked for it, it came up as Chupacabra Tear, also came up as Chupacabra Dark Seas. Either way, it's from 2005. Just look it up and you'll find it. If you want to. I don't think it's that bad of a movie. I think it could have been much worse for a sci-fi movie. We just saw worse. But remember, don't gene splice animals, don't bring them back from the dead, don't dump chemicals in the water, don't flush your pets, don't bury dead people under the road, and in this case, don't go hunting for cryptids. Just leave them alone, because you don't know how to deal with it. Goodbye, everyone. Stay odd.